Johnson's rule is the method that minimizes the make span of a schedule of any system that has two work centers or two stages of processing. But just because a system has two work centers or two stages of processing doesn't necessarily mean that Johnson's rule is being used. And that's the irony that we can see here in the first part of this body and paint shop problem. Let's look. The operations manager of a body and paint shop has 5 cars which to schedule for repair. He would like to minimize the time needed to complete all work on these cars. Each car requires body work prior to painting, and you can see the data: body work and then painting. The estimates of times required are as follows. So we have here at the beginning what looks like a classic Johnson's rule problem. You have jobs to be done. Here they're cars. There's a 2-stage process. Each one varies as far as what it needs from each stage. One stage, the body work, has to be done before the other one. This is all Johnson's rule. This is all Johnson's rule, except look at the first question. If the cars are processed in alphabetical order, how long would be required to complete all 5 cars? Oh, wait, Johnson's rule finds a sequence, but that particular problem, or should say question, within the overall scenario, is giving you a sequence, and it says the sequence should be A, B, C, D, E if they're done in alphabetical order. It's asking how long it will take to complete all of them. We need to draw a Gantt chart to estimate that. That's why if you have the note frame, notice that there's an empty grid here. It's just to make it a little bit easier, because a Gantt chart will show the activity at each one of the work centers over the course of the proposed sequence. Oh, that means we're missing some labels here, because the top row of our Gantt chart would be, let's see, body work. And then the bottom row would be paint. And this is hourly. This is a timeline. This is on any Gantt chart. Let's see. This is right now 0 at the start. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking for 5 hours out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 10 hours out. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours out. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 hours out. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 hours out. 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 hours out. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. It looks like we can squeeze in 36, 37, 38, 39. Yeah, 40 is right here. Oh, okay. Now here we have the framework of the Gantt chart that we're going to need to figure out how long it's going to take if we do these in alphabetical order. Because if we do these in alphabetical order, that means that we will do car A first, correct? All right, so we look up on the data. Car A is, wow, 10 hours worth of body work and then 2 hours of painting. Okay, fine, we're going to do it first. That means you start here in body work, and wait, 10 hours is all the way out to here. This is us working on the first car. First the body work. The body work has to be done first. Then the painting, only 2 hours, and it can't start until the body work is finished. So that is when we finish with car A. And I am going to mark this. Note to self, this is all car A. That means that the paint shop's going to spend a considerable amount of time here at the beginning not doing anything, because they're going to be waiting for the body work on car A to be done, but never mind. Now B would be next, because we're going alphabetical order. B is 5 hours worth of body work and 4 hours of painting, so we just want to sort of reserve that time. Okay, 5 hours. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4, 5. Okay, yeah, up to 15 hours. In the body work shop, and then 4 hours of painting that can't start until the body work is finished. So here we go. So this is car B, and you can see there's some awkward forced idle time in the paint shop in between cars A and B. Now car C is 7 hours worth of body work. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, well then there's the body work being done on car C, and 5 hours of painting, which can start when it finishes. So that takes us out to right there. Okay, this is car C. And some more kind of awkward forced idle in between here in the paint shop. Paint shop is catching a lot of breaks. D is 3 hours worth of body work and 6 hours worth of painting. Okay, it will come then next. 3 hours of body work only takes us to here. While they're still working on car C in the paint shop, 6 hours of painting will have to start when they finish with that other car. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. D and D. Okay, and then finally one last car. Car E is 1 hour worth of body work. Okay. Well, that can happen right there. Didn't take very long. E. Fortunately, it can't go straight to paint because the paint shop is still stacked up with other work. The 7 hours of paint that's required of car E will have to be scheduled on the end here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 hours of paint for car E. Now, we have this pretty Gantt chart. What was the question? The question is, how long would it take them to get all these cars done if they did them in alphabetical order? You can see that now. What you look at is basically the farthest most right-hand point on the Gantt chart. How much time did it take in total? It's right there. This is also known as the make span of the schedule, important vocabulary term, and you can see that it's 40 hours. It will take them 40 hours of operating time to work through the 5 cars if they are done in that sequence. If you attempted this problem on your own and you tackled it this way by drawing a Gantt chart and you were putting them in alphabetical order but you had problems, that's why you're watching the video, you couldn't get the 40 hours, chances are the problem has something to do with the forced idle time. That's kind of the tricky bit in here, is that be really careful when you are plotting first one stage of work and then the next stage of work, that you don't start the next stage of work too early by stacking it in behind the last requirement. Okay, just stay alert for that. It's a very common mistake otherwise. Anyway, that's only the first question of this problem. What's the next question? In what sequence should the cars be processed to minimize the make span of the schedule? We were just talking about that term, make span, and how long would that be? This turns this whole problem into a Johnson's rule problem, because Johnson's rule is a method for finding the sequence, the order that minimizes the overall amount of time, the make span. Okay, so first, we need to employ Johnson's rule to find the sequence. Second, we need to draw another Gantt chart to answer that question of how long it will take, and that's why you can see that there's another blank grid in the note frame. Okay, now first, to employ Johnson's rule, what I recommend is first create a blank sequence. There are 5 cars, so I am drawing 5 spaces or 5 places. Because now I'm going to fill them in according to Johnson's rule. Johnson's rule is basically the look for the smallest number rule. Go back to the original data. There it is. Look for the smallest number. Okay, with this data, there it is. It's that 1. If this number occurs at the first workstation, it does, right? The first column. Schedule that job first. Okay, done. Then what? Lightly cross it off. That data, lightly. Okay, then what? Then look for the smallest number. Okay, it's a 2. If the smallest number occurs at the second workstation, and notice that in the case of the 2, it does. It refers to the paint shop. Then schedule that job last, or as close to last as possible. Well, we're talking about car A in this case. We go back to the sequence. Well, last place is wide open. Great. That's where car A gets scheduled. Then mark it off the list lightly. Then of the remaining numbers, look for the smallest number. It's always look for the smallest number. Okay, now the smallest number here is, I see a 3. The 3 belongs to D. That means schedule D as close to the front as possible. E is in first place, so as close to the front as possible is second place. That's where car D goes. Okay, then mark it off the list. Then the smallest number of the survivors. Okay, there's a 4, belongs to B, time to schedule car B. The 4 is in the second column, referring to paint, the second workstation. Schedule car B as close to the back as possible. And then there's only one other place for the one last car to go. C will go in the center of the sequence. Oh, okay, now this is the sequence. This is the first part of that question. In what sequence? They should work through the cars in this sequence. The second part of this question is, okay, if they do that, how long is it all going to take? We have to do another Gantt chart. Oh, all right. So first off, just like last time, the labels. This is body work. This is paint. There's the start of the schedule. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 hours in, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours in, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours in, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 hours in, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 hours in, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 hours in, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35 hours in, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 hours in. Okay, now we look at the sequence. Who is the first car in the sequence? Okay, now it's E. Okay, look at the data that we only lightly crossed off so we can still read it. E is 1 hour worth of body work and 7 hours worth of painting. Let's book that. 1 hour worth of body work and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours of paint time. This is car E. Who's next? D. Consult the data. D is 3 hours worth of body work and 6 hours worth of paint. Okay. Book that time. 1, 2, 3 hours worth of body work for car D once car E is finished. And then 6 hours worth of painting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Scheduled just as soon as they get done with the first car in the sequence. Okay, that's done. So basically that one. C. C is 7 hours worth of body work and 5 hours worth of painting. Okay. 7 hours worth of body work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is C. And 5 hours worth of painting starting just as soon as it can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is the paint work on car C. Okay, that one's in. Then B. B is, according to the data, 5 hours worth of body work and 4 hours worth of painting. So the body work, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's car B. And then the painting, 1, 2, 3, 4, starting just as soon as it can. Here we are working on car B. And we saved car A for last this time. Car A, if you look at the data, is a lot of body work. 10 hours of body work and 2 hours of painting. Okay, first the body work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is all body work on car A. And then the painting. 2 hours, but it has to wait until the body work is finished. So 1, 2, it would have to be scheduled here. So there is a little bit of forced idle time in the paint shop. There's kind of that awkward gap in there of 3 hours. But wait, we can now answer the rest of the question because this is the last car, and when did it get finished? In 27 hours? The make span of this schedule is 27 hours. It takes 27 hours to finish up all of these particular, oh, excuse me, 28. Shut my mouth. I can't count. See, this is 30, 28. It takes 28 hours to finish. Now notice, to finish the same 5 cars that we were working with in the first part of this problem, but in a different sequence. When we did them in alphabetical order, it would take 40 hours. When we do them in this order that was generated by Johnson's rule, it only takes 28 hours. That's what Johnson's rule is good at, is finding out the one way to get all these blocks to fit together that they at least all get done in the shortest amount of time. Oh, all right. So now, what other questions are there? According to the schedule found in Part B. Okay, good. So it's according to our work here. What is the flow time of each car? Flow time, when will each car be finished? Okay, for car E, when will it be finished? What you're looking for is when the painting will be finished, because that's the last thing to be done. And the painting here will be finished in, that's 8 hours. Then for car D, we just read this information off of our Gantt chart. Let's see, D, the painting will finish up right here, and that is in 14 hours. So the flow time for car D is 14 hours. For car B, for car C, that would be the easiest thing to do next. For car C, find C in the paint shop. Here it is right here, and it's being finished up in 19 hours. Then for car B, find it in the paint shop, and it's being finished up here in, what is this, 23 hours? And then the last car in the sequence, the one that was saved to last, car A, right, had its flow time is also the make span of the schedule by definition, so its flow time is 28 hours. So here is when you will actually finish with each one of the cars if you follow this sequence. Now, one last question. The owner of car D will arrive to pick up his car in 3 hours. Will car D be ready, and if not, how long will the owner be forced to wait? The issue of whether car D is going to be ready or not when this person shows up in 3 hours is an issue of its flow time. The flow time of a job answers the question, when will it be ready? Oh, and then luckily we already figured out all the flow times in Part C of this scenario, so we just want to look, okay, car D, 14 hours. The flow time is 14 hours. That means that we'll finish in 14 hours, which means to address this question, will car D be ready? No, definitely not, right? How long will the owner be forced to wait? Well, we'll be finished in 14 hours. The owner's not going to show up for 3 hours. That implies 11 hours of waiting. Or another way to think about it, to relate it to other material, is that, okay, if that is in fact the deadline when the owner shows up, then car D is like 11 hours tardy. But at any rate, it is a wait of 11 hours. One hopes that the owner of that car doesn't actually wait at the business for 11 hours, but car D is definitely not going to be ready when they show up.